Hello, dear student. This is Praneeth Shukla, and today I'm going to cover the chapter Madam Rides the Bus. And this is a story that has been written by a South Indian writer, Valli Kannan. And today we will cover 5 paragraphs in this chapter. The chapter is there in the book First Flight, class 10th, English Language and Literature. Okay, so before beginning the paragraph, I give you a highlight of the chapter. The chapter is about a small girl and whose name is Wali. And after coming from school, she usually stands at her doorway and watches in front where there is a market side outside area. And yes, there is a bus stand. So every now and then, buses come, buses go, and whenever she see people getting on, getting off the bus, she gets fascinated to watch it. So one day she gets the desire to go into the bus to take a ride into the bus. That's why the chapter has been titled as Madam Rides the Bus. Madam is actually a word which has been used for a small girl whose name is Valli. So now let's proceed the chapter. Paragraph number 1. There was a girl named Valli Kammai, or we can say Valli Ammai, who was called Valli for short. She was 8 years old and very curious about things. So the name already, as I have mentioned, Valli Kammai is the name, and she was Valli was a short her name, and she was just 8 years old and very curious. Means she always take a keen interest in the things around her. Her favorite pastime means passing of the time was standing in front of the doorway of her house watching what was happening in the street outside. So she usually spent her time by standing in front of the doorway of her house, and she looked around what was going on there, watching what was happening in the street outside. There were no playmates of her own age. So of her own age she did not have a lot of playmates on her street in her area, and this was about all she had to do. So only time pass she had was to stand on the doorway and to see around in the market side, in the bus stand area, and to see and observe. So she actually made an observation around there. But for Valli, standing at the front door was every bit as enjoyable. But no problem, she had not any friends of her own age. But in front door, it was very enjoyable for her. Every bit, mean every small moment of that she enjoyed with full pleasure and enthusiasm. As any of the elaborate games, any kind of game which is played very elaborately, very joyfully, other children played even. So watching the street gave her many unusual experiences. So whenever she was there on the street and she watched the game, it gave her a very unique experiences. Paragraph number 3. The most fascinating, the most attractive thing of all was the bus. So bus in the market side was the most enthusiastic and interesting thing for the girl that traveled between her village and the nearest town. So she observed a bus that traveled to and fro the town. It passed through her street each hour, once going to the town and once coming back. So every 1 or 2 hours later, there came a bus. The sight of the bus and the scene that the bus is coming, bus is going, departure and arrival, filled each time with a new set of passengers. So Valli all the time became very happy with it, and it was a source of unending joy for Valli. So Valli, the small kid, she became extremely, overjoyed by looking and observing the bus and the people who were getting on and off the bus. Day after day, so day after day, she watched the bus, and gradually a tiny wish crept into her head. So every time she was the bus, and with the passage of time, what happened? A very small wish crept into the mind, means that created into her mind, and that grew there, means that became very strong. She wanted to take a ride on the bus, even if just once. So she decided to take the ride in the bus. This wish became stronger and stronger, and day by day the wish was getting overpowering and overpowering until it was an overwhelming desire, and finally it became a very powerful desire for the girl. Wally would stare wistfully at the people. So, with a very keen eyes, she looked at the people who got on or off the bus when it stopped at the street corner. So, every time she looked very carefully in a very curiosity toward the bus, their faces would kindle in her longings. So, whatever the desire she were having, the faces of those passengers always provoked her desires, dreams, and hopes. So, everything the expressions of the people who were just coming in the bus, going off the bus. So she looked the faces of the people, and she always got interested a lot. If one of her friend happened to ride the bus and tried to describe, even she had some of rare friends, but if any of her friend, even in school or somewhere around area, if any of her friend try to describe that he or she has gone into the bus, and if they try to describe the scenes around the bus, Valli would be very jealous, and she started to, out of her envy, she started to call out, and she said that you are very proud, you are very proud. So these were the expression and reactions that she made. uh, where's the paragraph? Okay. Neither she nor her friend. So, whenever any of her friend tried to explain the scenario when he was or she was in a bus, so she was not allowed her even to speak much because she felt extremely jealous. And then she said, you're very proud, you're very arrogant. So in this way, she made a slang expression. Neither she nor her friends really understood the meaning of the, but they used it often as a slang expression of disapproval. So they always believed that the girl is not agree with them, and they treated it as if the girl is showing a kind of disapproval towards them. For today, it's enough. Thank you very much for paying attention, and I would like you to give your feedback. Thank you very much.